Let me get my airliner. Okay. All right, here we have the guided notes for transformations, and uh, okay, we're looking at the guided notes for transformations, and here we have four basic problems, and I want to go through the process of transforming each one of these graphs in a way that is clear and organized. And now these are going to be fairly simple. I just want to make sure that we know exactly what the process of handling each one. So with the first one, it asks us to transform the graph 3 units to the right. And essentially what we want to do is we want to take the same graph and move it 3 units over to the right. And in order to do that, I want to do this table of values. So the way I want to handle this is I'm going to have old here, and we're going to put the coordinate points for each one of these as the old. And if we're going to graph 3 units to the right, essentially we're moving each one of these x values 3 units to the right. Are we messing with the y values? No. So here we're going to say x plus 3 comma y. And well, I need to give myself enough space here, so make sure we give ourselves enough space. And here we're going to have new. We're going to have new. Okay. I need to move this guy down just a little bit. Okay. All right. So we go through and we're gonna collect these points. So the first point is -9 and 2. So we have -9 comma 2. Our next point is -4 4. -4 comma 4. And then we have 1 4 1 4. Then we have 2 -2 2 comma -2. And 4 2 or comma 2. Okay, so now we know our x values and our y values, and essentially we transform the graph 3 units to the right. So I'm going to add 3 to my x value, and y is going to stay the same. We're not doing anything with y. So I'm going to have -9 plus 3 comma 2. -4 plus 3 comma 4. 1 plus 3 comma 4. 2 plus 3 comma -2. And 4 plus 3 comma 2. So our new points, -9 plus 3 is -6, 2. -4 plus 3 is -1. 4 is our point there. 1 plus 3 is 4, so 4, we get the point there. 2 plus 3 is 5, and our y value is -2. 4 plus 3 is 7, and our y value still is 2. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to do this in a different color other than black. And I suggest for this unit, I suggest we get different colored pens and pencils because whenever we draw the new graph, we want to distinguish which one's which. So I'm going to say this is the blue. This is my blue transformation. Blue. All right. So we have moved the graph 3 units now to the right. Perfect. And yes, essentially, we could have just counted those points over, right? 1, 2, 3, here's my first one. 1, 2, 3, there's my next point. 1, 2, 3, there's my next point. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. The reason why I want to use this chart is for two reasons. One, I want to keep myself organized. I want all of my work to be very organized. Two, it's going to get very, very complicated very, very quickly. So make sure when we're doing transformations, make sure that every time you do a transformation, you have some sort of chart that takes old points and transforms them into new points. And essentially that's what a transformation is. We take old points and we transform them and we make new points out of them. Alright, so let's try this one more time. So now I'm going to use green to plot this one here. There. Very good. So now we can see both transformations on the same graph. This is essential because some of the work that we're going to do is we're going to ask you to do multiple transformations of a graph on the same graph. So we want to be able to see what we want to be able to see these transformations. And if you're going to have more than one, it's highly suggested that you use more than one color there. So for this particular one, I used blue for the shift right 3 units, and I used green for the shift down 5 units. Not too bad. Alright, well let's try this. Reflect over the x-axis. Well, here's the x-axis, and if I'm going to reflect over the x-axis, then what changes here? This point would go to this point. My x value doesn't change, but my y value changes, doesn't it? So if I go from here down to here, then my y value goes from 2 to negative 2. This y value goes from 4 down to negative 4. So what are we doing? Well, it seems as though we're multiplying everything here. We're multiplying everything here by negative 1. And it's just our y values that we're multiplying by negative 1. So, again, these are points, and I'm going to just for these charts, I'm going to stop using the parentheses because I feel like that's making it a little messy. So I'm going to use blue. I'm going to negative 9, negative 2. I have that point right here. So essentially we've flipped over the x-axis. And wow, it looks like a mirror image across the x-axis, which is good because that's exactly what we wanted. So this has been reflected about the x-axis. Okay, so now if we try to do the same thing with reflection about the y-axis or over the y-axis, then what do you bet? We multiply our x values by negative 1. So here we have old. Let's see if I can plot these. Okay. So I'm going to do these. I'm going to plot these in green. Yeah, so it's not perfect, but hopefully you get the idea. The blue is when I reflected the original graph over the x-axis, and the green is when I flipped the original graph over the y-axis. I hope you get the idea of how to use the chart using the old values as the old points, process that we're going to use in the middle, and then our new points here. So whatever transformation we have, we want to show that work in our middle part of the chart. Again, this seems as though it's something you should be able to look at and do. However, I need you to understand that showing your work here is going to help whenever these get very confusing and complicated later on. Now there's two more that we have on here where we stretch the graph vertically by a factor of 2. And for that, in our chart here, vertically, our vertical values are the y values. So x doesn't change, but we're stretching by a factor of 2, so I'm going to multiply all my y values by 2. So I'm going to have 2 times y. And here I'm going to compress vertically by a factor of 1/2. Again, vertical changes do not affect my y values. They do, however, affect my, or excuse me, pardon, they don't affect my x values, they do affect my y values. So here I'm going to multiply all my y values by 1/2 times y. So that should get you going for the chart. Again, same old points, except for our new points are going to be a little bit different. And then for the last graph, it says stretch the graph horizontally by a factor of 2. So what do you bet that affects the x-axis? Good, 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 good. So in your chart there, again with your old here, we're going to have 2 times x. Our y value is not changed. And then you'll have your new points. And for the last chart, we'll have 1/2 times x comma y. And there'll be your old numbers, your old points here, and your new points here. Now, since you're watching this over the weekend, you know what? Let's do this. The first 4, well, let's make it 10. Everybody's going to have class on Monday, so all 3 college algebra classes will show up on Monday. So let's say the first 10 people to bring me these last 2 charts done, and I want to see several things. I want to see your charts completed and filled out with the transformation in the middle, and the new points. And I want to see you use different colors. So I should see blue and a green, or red and yellow, but don't use red and pink. That's too similar. So make it different colors, and don't use black either. So I want to see different colors on these last 2 as well.